Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Afterlife podcast. This is your host, Pooja Chilukuri. My guest today is Rebecca Kastl. Rebecca is a pediatric speech language pathologist. She's an angel reader. She's an energy healer and a Reiki master. She had a spiritually transformative experience in her 20s, and she's here with us today to share that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Pooja.
I just love that I got to meet you at this wonderful conference that we both were at. So
Yes.
I would think that's divine providence, however you want to look at it. But I really feel blessed that we connected and that you agreed to come on this show. So without wasting any more time, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how that spiritual awakening that you had came about?
Yes, of course. Pooja, it was so great to meet you as well at the conference. And I know we definitely connected on some levels. So I'm so thankful to be here. So let's see. I had a spiritually transformative experience that was a little bit like a real-time near-death experience that lasted over 2 years from age 26 to 28. My background, I came from a very skeptical house that my dad was a scientist. He's an MD, PhD in biochemistry. So there was like no talk of miracles. Anything like that was for wacky people. And he would make fun of people talking about stuff like that in the news. So I grew up with that mindset. Even though I kind of talked down about it, I'm really grateful that I had that mindset because it let me really question my experiences and really come to terms with what I really believe. So on top of that, my mom was a psychologist, even though she is a very spiritual person, like that language of, schizophrenia. If you're seeing things are schizophrenic, that's all it is. That's what my belief system was, until I started seeing things. So yeah, and also I'm Jewish and Christian, my background. So I come from a dual religious house. And I'm really thankful for both of those traditions in my life. Anyway, so at age 13, I had a horrible trauma that was a sexual trauma, very public, and it was very awful. I won't go too into it, but it basically led me to have very awful PTSD, anxiety, insomnia. I also started having horrible nightmares after my trauma of demons. I wasn't raised to believe in demons, but that comes back around later. Anyway, no one really knew this happened. I thought it was my fault. And I thought if I could just seem perfect and study enough, the trauma would go away. I thought it could make me feel better, to be perfect on the outside. And a lot of people thought I was, I became, after kind of the initial phase of the trauma, I thought, well, look, no one really knows what's going on with me. I'm just going to study. I'm going to be a perfect student. I'm going to practice piano and do all the things I'm supposed to do. But, I would break down in tears at my piano lessons just out of nowhere. And the nightmares were persistent. Eventually, I went away to college. I was successful there until I started having like breakdowns. And then finally I had to really commit myself to healing. So I went to regular therapy for years, including an inpatient program for survivors of sexual trauma in the summer after my junior year of college. And those therapies were great. And I learned a lot from therapy. I got very stable. And eventually my therapist said, you're fine. You're great. You're in the world. You're doing wonderful. You really don't have that many problems, but I knew something was still wrong in my heart. So that's when I really opened myself up when I was 23 to truly healing. And at that moment, I started meeting different healers. I met a Reiki teacher who helped me a lot. And I met a yoga teacher. I didn't really believe in Reiki, but it was helping me energetically as much as the talk therapy had gotten me to a certain point. The Reiki really was like, I had stuff that I needed to heal energetically. So I started studying that. And that's the time when I also started going to church. So I was raised Jewish, and I also, in my 20s, I went to church, and it was lovely. I mean, both of my experiences with Judaism and Christianity I was very blessed and lucky to have supportive experiences. I know that's not everyone's experience, but okay. So getting to the spiritually transformative experience, I was 26. So I had done a lot of healing. I was at a place where I felt I was ready to go back. I was going to go to graduate school, and I did. I went to teachers college at Columbia University. I moved to New York. And in the January of my first year there, I fell sick with like an illness. And I was on the mend, but while I was sick, I was reading The Tunnel and the Light by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And I think like the combination of like being a little sick and reading this book, it really got into my soul. And as I was like getting better, like that next week, I was writing in my journal, and I just started to, I got overcome by like this really strong feeling of God. I guess some people will call it the Holy Spirit, but it just took me over. I was crying, and I just wrote that I wanted to devote my life to God. It came out of nowhere. I wasn't planning to do that. I don't even know if I believe in this kind of stuff, but I wrote, "Dear God, I have decided to give my life to you and whatever that entails. I want to be guided by you, by the light. This is my pledge. I will work hard to follow this path and to bring it to fruition. Please help me do this. Please help me bring light to other people. Thank you. Amen." And I was just crying, and I wrote that. It was like, I didn't realize I was taking a very serious vow when I wrote that. And it was different than like having been bat mitzvahed or baptized, which I was both at that point. This was like a different level of commitment that it came out of nowhere. I wrote it, I closed my journal, and this is where things really started for the next 2 years. That night when I went to bed, I saw a light come over my bed, and it really freaked me out. The light was really a beautiful golden white light, and it felt like it could see me. I just watched it come up from one end of the room to right over me, and it could see all the way into my heart, and I was terrified of it. I was like saying to it, go away, I'm scared," because it could see me, and I knew I was hiding part of myself. It wasn't like, I don't know. And so then I started feeling all these tingles in my head, and I thought it was like a really weird headache. And I was like, why am I having this headache? But it's like so peaceful. And I had a boyfriend at the time. I looked at him, and I was like, he was asleep, but I was like, is he having this headache? Like, I was just not a spiritual person. I was like, what's going on with my head? And then as I relaxed into that feeling, I felt a voice come into my head that said, you don't have to be afraid, but if you are, you can wear a hat. And it put a graduation hat in my mind's eye. But I was also, as I said, not very spiritual. And I was like, oh, that's not a cute hat. That's not the hat I want. And I tried to change the hat. And now I know if you try to do that, like the communication stops. So everything just stopped in that instance. But the next morning, I woke up and I was going to my classes, and I just saw light pouring out of everyone. Like they had a light, like everyone had a light bulb inside of them. And there was just light coming out of everyone. And I was walking like, how did I never notice that everyone is so beautiful? And it was really it really took me aback. And, of course, I started to think I was going really crazy. So I was, part of like these beautiful experiences. I had 2 years of these amazing experiences, but I also was learning to hopefully think I wasn't crazy. So I was like calling my boyfriend at the apartment, asking him if he could see all these different things in the apartment. And he was like, why are you asking me all these questions? Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I had really just seen the light. So the different things that happened that year, those 2 years, it was like, I started seeing the light inside everyone. I started having dreams that would come true later, mostly just about my life or my friends. So like, I'd have dreams about how a friend is doing, and then we'd talk and it would be true. Or dreams about something that was going to happen in my life. I had a dream about a car accident 5 days before it happened. And those continue to this day, especially if I'm really calm. I still have them. But in the very beginning, a lot of them are like guidance. Like I needed to make amends with a certain person. So that was, okay, the light, the dreams. I started feeling angels around me. It's not like, I was just in graduate school. So I remember I was going to sign up for like a study abroad program. And as I was signing up, I felt these really tall angels next to me. It's not like it's just like, I felt that in my heart. And so they were I just felt them going up really high. And it was like a nonverbal, like, don't sign up for that program. So I didn't. It still took me time to learn to always listen to the guidance, but now I know my life's a lot better if I listen. And they make it really hard for me, especially, and I guess all of us, if I'm not listening, they're like, none of that's going to work. So let's see. So that the angels, the dreams, okay, feeling how connected we all are. So this was like the last podcast I was on, the host Betty Guadagno, who you had on recently, I saw. Yes. She was like, it was like your life review, but in real time. And so like I started to feel really, really viscerally. If I said something hurtful to someone or was careless, I could feel how much it hurt them, like really deeply, like it took my breath away. So or if I was kind, I could feel how much that really made a difference to people. So I was, just really feeling how much it mattered to be kind. Okay, I think the nightmares. So the nightmares finally stopped. That was a big part of my experience. So after my trauma, even though I didn't believe in demons, I had these horrible waking nightmares where it's like the sleep paralysis. I'd be paralyzed in my bed asleep, but my spirit would be like awake and these demons would circle me. And they would get worse and better. And they lasted for 13 years until after my experience. I remember sitting up outside my body while my body was paralyzed and there was like a demon circling me. I was not raised to believe in any of this, but I just remember saying to it over and over again, you can't hurt me. God lives in me and works through me. And I just said that over and over and it just went away. I wasn't afraid of it like I always had been. They just stopped. And I went back to sleep and I never had another nightmare. And I'd had them for so many years that I just thought it was part of my life. So that was like a miracle to me. Of course, the next day I just got up and went to grad school classes. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. And then at the very end, so at the end of those 2 years, I had this beautiful dream where I was talking to this person that was really glowing. I was in my room and I was complaining about my life. And he was like, the world is so beautiful. Go have a wonderful life. Go have adventures. And I was looking at him and I realized I loved him. And I said, what's your name? And he said, Jonathan. And I said, when am I going to meet you? And he said, when you're done swimming. And then the dream shifted from talking to him to me being on a big boat and getting lowered into the water and like an ocean. And I just started swimming. And then the next day I woke up and all of that was over. It was like I didn't realize until it was over that I was so surrounded by light. And then it just the whole world just got quiet. It was really intense because I thought at the end of all my experiences, I knew I was going through a big change. I thought I would just go live with God. And instead I was just here on earth. The world is so hard. So it's part of why it's taken me so long to share, because I was really depressed. And then finally I learned that I had to do my part. But swimming, I really thought that dream, I was just going to swim for a year or two and I was going to meet this amazing guy. But now I've learned he was probably an angel and he was letting me know I needed to go swim and have a good life. Because most people don't glow like that. And I've never had a dream where like that, but it was really interesting. I mean, that's the whole experience basically. And since then, it ended in 2008. I've just been trying to finally able to share and, live up to the promise I made by accident in my journal.
Have chills and chills and chills. I'm listening to you, Rebecca. How incredible, how amazing. Thanks. And everything. I have questions, but that is so beautiful that he told you to go live your life. Yeah, to have an adventure. That's what life is, isn't it?
Yeah, I was life is beautiful. Why are you complaining, basically? Look what God did for you.
But I do want to thank you for sharing, because it's not easy, especially, if there's been any trauma or anything difficult. It's often hard to share. So I appreciate you for coming on and doing that. My first question for you is, did you start telling anybody in your friends or family, and how did they receive it?
That's a great question, because most of the time I didn't talk about it, but I did have a few people, honestly, the next week I saw one of my dear friends, and she's a very brilliant and mystical person. And actually I was at a bar with her in Brooklyn and I said, I saw a light. And she was that's amazing. I was like, I told it to go away. And she was like, you need to ask it to come back. And so she was really probably the only person I told for a really long time. And I never, I was going through all of this while I had friends and things. And I just, they might have known like I was doing certain things, but nobody knew. Like, how do you know what's going on with someone internally unless they tell you? So
Yes.
I do feel bad that I kept it from people, but it was just, it's so deep and hard to talk about.
Yeah.
I did tell a boyfriend, he was an Orthodox Jew. And I told him the whole thing. And, he was a really skeptical person too. And I really loved him, but he was like, Rebecca, the prophetess. And I was like, I don't know if I'm the prophetess. I've just had this experience. I don't know. So, yeah.
I think that I've had some, but I don't have those dreams that you're talking about. And I know that would freak me out because how do you deal with that? Does
Like
that
the dreams
ever?
that come true later, or
Yeah,
no,
that.
honestly, those when they happen, they just feel really peaceful. And I will tell you, like after grad school, I lived in the woods for a few years because I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. And I had the most like dreams, like almost every night were like psychic that were going to come true because I was so removed from the world. But the more I'm in the world, busy with a job and being a mom still, it's like they come when they really need them. And they don't, it's not like I know they're going to happen. I do just see like it's very calm and I'm just watching. I'm like actually the witness. I had a dream about the carbon monoxide poisoning that I got right like a few days before I had it, but it wasn't it wasn't scary. I just was looking and it was a little brighter and it was like, okay, like, but it does make me wonder like how much is planned. Like if I had those dreams a few days before, like, and I
Right.
couldn't have stopped what happened, the car accident or the carbon monoxide poisoning. I mean, sometimes they give me guidance because honestly, I have a hard time making choices. And I was engaged to someone else before my husband, and I just had a series of dreams that I had to end it. And that was really the reason why I knew I had to end it. I was just having many, many dreams that I had to stop being engaged to him because sometimes I think the angels are like, hello, are you listening at all? So they send me these dreams like.
It's so beautiful that we are not alone, that we are guided and supported.
Yeah, that's so
Rebecca,
true.
you're a beautiful channel. There's so much love and light that really comes through you. I've been reading some of your blogs,
Thank
and
you.
I think this is a great time to read one of them. I'm going to read it out loud
Okay.
because we're talking about this guidance just
Yes.
when you need it. And I think this is you wrote this piece earlier in February, and you said that it was a message from the angels. I think that's an incredible gift that
Okay.
you are in tune with that. So here it goes.
Okay.
This is what they're saying. We are here supporting you. You are never alone. We are your guides, angels, archangels, and those chosen to accompany you through this lifetime for your soul development. We are here to guide you as your soul develops more and more into who you were created to be. Whenever you are in doubt, you may light a candle and remind yourself that you are that spark of light within. Your light is how we see you. It is your eternal essence. We watch it grow brighter or dimmer by the choices you make and situations you find yourself in. But it's always possible to return to it. We wish you to know that this light can never go out. It is always there. You are this light. Just knowing this allows you to shine even more brightly. That's
Wow.
beautiful.
I
You
can't
actually
take
wrote
credit.
that.
I just cleared my mind enough for it to come through. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Thank you. I mean, yeah, I thank you
Isn't that
for.
amazing? And I encourage everybody that's watching or listening. Rebecca has beautiful messages that she posts on her Instagram and on her website, on her blog. And I will have all those links to it in the show notes.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, so we could follow you, Rebecca. And
Okay, great.
also, question that I have along those lines. You already answered part of my question because I was going to ask you, how do you feel that presence? But you already answered it. Like when we're very, very busy, it's hard to tune in.
Mhm.
We both met at this talk in the conference where I think it was a Methodist pastor and a Catholic priest, and they were trying to talk about or discuss or bring ways that we can integrate some of these experiences into our religious beliefs. Did you find that hard or was it seamless for you?
I mean, it's definitely been a huge part of my journey, and I don't have many answers, but I can definitely tell you my experiences.
Yes.
Uh, I've gone back and forth since my experience with Judaism and Christianity, and really just trying to love both sides of my family. I have prayed for guidance. So one of the things about these dreams is if I'm needing guidance, I will pray for a dream that night about and so I've prayed like, God, tell me what religion to be. I just don't know, because it is. And whenever I have prayed that, I've done that a couple of times. I just see my Christian friends being really kind and loving to each other. And then I see my Jewish friends being really kind and loving. And I just like wake up like, I guess we're just supposed to be kind. I mean, I'm not trying to like say anything. I feel like religion is such a big topic, but that's how I wake up feeling like, as long as I'm being kind. So I
think that's beautiful. And listening to you, just now something else popped in my head. There is someone, I heard her story at an IANS. It was a video recording. I think her name is Amy Call, and I think she asked her spirit guide which religion is true.
Oh yeah.
And I think they laughed and told her it's like asking which cheese the moon is made of.
Oh, I like that.
Like I
Yeah, I mean, it's
said.
just so much bigger than we know, and
Yeah.
I've really loved both, so I'm thankful I get both in my family. Wish I could.
So that's awesome. And then speaking to you earlier, you mentioned you had a really beautiful dream and it was about Jesus, but I think there was a very important message in the dream that no matter what religion someone is, we all can take that message. So could you share that dream with us?
Yes, I'll share it. It was a few years ago. It just came to me one night. Jesus was sitting in a throne in my dream, and I was walking up to him thinking, I need to kiss his feet. This is Jesus. Oh my goodness, look, I'm approaching Jesus on this throne. And as I walked up to him, he grabbed my hand and sat me next to him in another throne. So he was in the throne and I was next to him in my own throne. And then his arms were reaching out, and the love in his heart was going from his arms to everyone in the universe in their own thrones, with all the love just pulsing through. And I was like, it just went out for infinity, like everyone in their own throne with the love of Jesus going through everyone's heart. I did tell my mom, who's Catholic, and I told my brother, who's very Christian, my half brother. My mom was like, who has dreams like that? And my brother keeps asking me if I had another one. I was like, no, I just have that one.
That is amazing. That is beautiful.
It was very beautiful. It's a metaphor I think about a lot.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it just shows you that we're all equally precious.
Yes.
And equally powerful, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a beautiful message.
That love goes through all of us. So it's,
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
that love is beyond comprehension, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
truly.
truly. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And then another quick question, and this is about the work that you're doing. Did you always, because a lot of people say that once they have that spiritual experience, they come back with the gifts. It sounds like you already were intuitive, but this energy healing and listening to the angels and doing these readings, that's the work that you're doing right now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So starting to offer, I had been studying Reiki for years. So the energy healing is just something I've been refining. Honestly, I started studying it 20 years ago. But the angel readings I've been offering just in the last year or two. And a lot of that was from starting to study with Suzanne Giesemann. So again, I prayed for a teacher. Actually in 2019, I prayed to have a dream about a teacher I could study with. And I dreamt about being in a class with Suzanne Giesemann. She's one of many people I kind of followed online. And I woke up like, I'm not going to be a medium. Like, I have no interest in that. Not that I love mediums, and I guess but I was like, I really trust my dreams. I know that I need to do whatever I'm given in them. So I signed up and started studying with her. And so that her framework that she teaches has really helped me I've always felt connected to angels, but it's just helped me get a framework that makes it less. It's just like they were all over the place. And now it's like, okay, this is how I'm going to connect. And these are how I'm going to get these messages through for people. So they are so excited whenever I tune in for anyone for an angel reading. I can just feel, or for the messages I give every day. They're like, yes, okay, great. And, they're always with everyone. And when I'm tuning in, I'm just basically raising my vibration in joy and gratitude, and then asking the angels, like your angels, guides, or archangels, whoever's with you, to come through. Some people I read like messages from Jesus for, if they're Christian. I just am very open to anyone's belief system. So I just bring through stuff that helps them. And people are, I think it's a really beautiful thing to do. I can't take any credit. I don't think I'm an amazing person. I've just learned how to clear my mind enough to give the messages. And I'm still a human filter. So sometimes I always say, like, if this resonates, please take it. But if I don't sleep well, I'm not going to give a good reading. So I do cancel readings if I didn't sleep well.
I'm glad you said that, Rebecca. I'm all about self-care. Yeah, that's right. We're a human channel, so we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful. And a quick question about you seeing the light in everybody and feeling that connection. One of my struggles has been I'm trying to integrate my own experiences for the last 10
Yeah.
years. And the
Mhm.
thing I still struggle with, so if you have any advice, I will
Yeah.
take it now,
Okay.
is feeling that love and that interconnectedness. I
Mhm.
also think of it as the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
That's been my experience. And
Mhm.
it's full of love, right? And when you feel that feeling, it just you feel one with everything.
Yeah.
But the world isn't that. And when we are out and about, whether it's your job or your other relationships, there's just so many harsh boundaries. Do
Mhm.
you find it difficult to sort of navigate that?
Like harsh boundaries with other people or just in the world? Yeah.
Just in the world and sometimes with people too, right? And being aware of boundaries, like I've had to really work on myself to
Mhm.
develop mine. Because sometimes I don't see that. I'm like, oh, we're all one. No, we are one, but we're all different, right? And those differences have
Yeah.
to be respected. But in the world, there
Yeah.
are harsh boundaries because sometimes people can misunderstand your gesture,
Yes.
especially the loving, kind gestures.
I know. That is really hard. That's such a good question. Um, I have to say, I feel like part of it for me has been like learning, in those experiences that I know you've had, you kind of see the perfection, but in our human side, like the perfection, it's hard to see. So sometimes I think when those things come up, it's like something I can heal within myself, even if it's just like learning that I shouldn't be around certain people. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but it's like I do need to protect my light, or myself. Uh, yeah, because I was bullied as a teen. So sometimes I
Mhm.
think I have caused or not caused or like brought in those experiences because of like whatever holes are in my aura or whatever I'm learning in this life.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's really hard to say because I was after my experience ended, I was actually like so depressed that I was still here. I think a lot of people have that experience
that's
after.
true. That's true because the contrast gets even more highlighted.
Yeah.
Before we would probably, take it as normal, but now we actually see the contrast. So that
Yeah. So
makes it
I'm
tough.
gonna have to think about that one a little more.
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
talk
I
later.
wasn't expecting a perfect answer. I
Yeah.
haven't figured it out in 10 years, so I'm sorry to put you on the
No,
spot.
I love it. It's a good question.
And so I just want people to be able to find you in your work.
Mhm.
You've been that's so kind of you coming and sharing your experience.
Aw, thanks.
Everybody that's listening and watching, I'm going to have all of Rebecca's contact in the show notes. I highly encourage you to follow her blog and her Instagram. Those messages that come through her are very, very comforting. They're beautiful, just like she is. Rebecca, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much.